Hi there. We are going to talk today about men and how to deal with them. As a wealthy woman, we need to know what's the best and most effective way to manage relationships because ultimately it is our job as women who are in relationship with men. So of course, this is a heterosexual discussion. I'm not an expert on lesbian and gay relationships, and I know that some of these tools might be applicable and some not. So, take this with a grain of salt if you're not heterosexual. But for women in relationship with men, there are some things you need to know. And I have woken up to the realities of the way men are. And this is as a feminist. I got a women's studies degree 20 years ago because I believed in empowering women. And I didn't like what I saw about the state of women and children's lives all over the world. That women and children were the biggest groups in poverty and the biggest groups that were oppressed. And so my heart went out to my sisters, and I studied all the ways that women are oppressed, specifically by men. And so my understanding at that time, 20 years ago, was that men just needed to change. They just needed to become more like women, become more compassionate, more understanding, more spiritual, and more willing to care for children. I think the women's movement has done this to some degree. I think that there is a feminization of men that has happened. But unfortunately, it doesn't take into account the thousands of years of evolution that have led men to be the way they are. So I think it's important that, yes, we understand in the big picture that men being men too much, to the expense of women and women's needs has been harmful. So we can acknowledge that. So we're not debating that here, but we are going to talk a little bit about how a modern day woman can deal with a modern day man the way things are to have a successful relationship and not expect him to be a woman. So I'm just going to lay it out here. Women are like Mother Mary. We are spiritual. We are heart-centered. We're emotional. We care for children. We are in touch with the community and what the community and the family needs. We tend to put our needs aside for the needs of others. And sexually, we have a sexual desire, but it ebbs and flows. And it's not a driving force for us. So men, on the other hand, are gorillas. From thousands and thousands of years of evolution, they have been required to do the dirty work, to go out and hunt, to go out and defend, to dig ditches, build bridges, build buildings with their hands. And men, physically, obviously, are bigger than women. And not sure what came first, the chicken or the egg, if they were bigger first and then that's why they went out to do their dirty work, or because they've been doing the dirty work for thousands of years, they're bigger. I don't know. But men are gorillas. So here you have Mother Mary and you have a gorilla. Okay? That's what we're dealing with in modern day culture. Despite the women's movement, despite all the progress that has been made on the surface, for men respecting women and yada yada, you still have this in modern day relationship. And unfortunately, the problem that happens with a lot of women and men is that women, Mother Mary, are expecting Jesus. Okay? But there's a gorilla standing there. It's not Jesus. He might try and put on a Jesus mask and try and pretend that he knows about feelings and wants to talk about feelings and understands feelings, but no, he's a gorilla. Gorillas want sex. That's what they want and need from a woman. That's pretty much what a man requires in relationship. And it's not everything, but that's the main thing. A woman requires support from a man. And I just want to say here, this is not all my thoughts and ideas. I've learned a lot from Justin Sterling at the Sterling Institute of Relationship about this. He has shared a lot of these ideas, and so I just want to give him credit. Part of my awakening is from doing his Women's Weekend, and it's highly recommended. I really recommend his weekend if a woman wants to improve her ability to have a relationship. So basically, Mother Mary, gorilla, women are feeling-oriented, relationship-oriented. Men are task-oriented and don't like to feel, generally. You have your exceptions. You have your counselor or your minister or, men who are more feeling-oriented. But there will always be the gorilla side to that man. That's part of his evolution from thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So it's not bad. It's not evil. It's not, we need the man to be sensitive, or men really can be innately sensitive. That may or may not be. They may be able to be sensitive or not, but there's always the gorilla there. And to acknowledge that is incredibly freeing in a relationship. It'll free you up, ladies. Let me tell you. So, knowing that men are task-oriented and women are feeling-oriented, the way to deal with that on a day-to-day basis in a relationship is for the woman to run the relationship. So that means the woman decides when they go on a date. The woman decides when they have sex. The woman decides how quickly the relationship progresses, if they're moving towards a commitment, or even, when you decide to split. I mean, obviously the man has say in this, right? But the woman is the one who initiates the conversation. I used to be so angry in my marriage to my former husband that I always had to be the one to set up the date. I always had to do that. And I used to get so frustrated. Like, I want this to be 50-50. He really should, pull his weight with, making the relationship work. Now I understand that's just not in his wheelhouse. And that's fine. Men do incredible tasks for women. Men support women incredibly. Some financially, some physically, with support and, handyman work. And men can listen to women. My fiance is an incredible listener. And it may not be that he's incredibly sensitive. I mean, it may mean that he's sensitive, but he's also just learned to shut up and listen, which is a great skill. So, really, men support women, and women give men sex. That's kind of the trade that Mother Mary makes with the gorilla. And so those are two things, running the relationship and acknowledging that fair trade of energy that happens in relationship. Another thing that can help is for women to give men specific instructions so that he has a task. It's like, the classic honey-do list, right? The woman makes a list and the man carries it out. And that works really well. That's a very, very effective technique for both parties getting their needs met. The woman gets her support, the man gets to support his woman, and then hopefully some sex happens. Another thing that's really important for men is that they connect with their masculine power and their sense of purpose in their life. That's important. And it could be considered spiritual. For some men, this is about, devoting their life to a spiritual walk and being part of a church or spiritual community. For some men, this is being part of a men's group. So it's not that, men are not capable of having that sense of emotional purpose or life purpose, but it's not involved in expressing a lot of feelings day to day. So that's different. Justin Sterling teaches men to connect with their life purpose and to connect with the core of their masculine power. And he also teaches women to connect with their purpose and their sense of feminine power, which is more emotionally expressive. Just plain and simple. We cry. It's what we do. We cry, we rage, we let it all hang out. That's women. So, ladies, hopefully this video was helpful and interesting to you, and looking forward to sharing with you more about relationships and talking with you about your relationship questions. So the good news is what Justin Sterling inspired me to believe at his retreat was that Mother Mary can guide the gorilla so that we create a better world together as men and women together. If we really acknowledge the gorilla for what he contributes, not expect him to be Jesus, at least not right away. Give him a couple thousand years.